Hello, good afternoon, leaders. This is Coach Tia. I'm your communications and connection coach, here to give leaders tips and strategies for how they ought to communicate personally and professionally. I just love today. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate freedom other than to talk about just removing some of the shame and the fear and the rejection that shackles us and keeps us away from pursuing our God-given destiny. I have to say, if you are tuning in on one of my broadcasts, this is a kingdom conversation. Those of you who are members of this kingdom, you know who you are. If not, I love sharing my faith. Feel free to inbox me, and I'd love to talk to you about some of the principles where I've birthed my content from. But anyhow, I'm going to move forward, and I want to just get right into it. I'm sitting here in my studio on this beautiful day, and if anyone knows me very well, I advocate for freedom with all of my heart. And I've done it in various ways with many industries. In the private sector, in the public sector, politically as a volunteer, whatever the case may be, I believe in freedom. But I do have to say that I believe you have to be free in your heart first. And so I'm here to talk to you about just the inner dialogue that you need to have with yourself so that you can set yourself free from shame, from rejection, so that you can pursue your calling and do it fearlessly with passion and intent and courage, bravery, everything that you need to keep going and to move forward with all that you were born and predestined to do. And so let me just talk a little bit about shame. It's a really interesting space because there's some things that I believe that we talk about, and we talk about them as though they are an emotion, an extension of us. You know, there's some things that you were never born with. You weren't born with shame as a child, as a baby. You don't come into the world with shame. You don't come into the world um, feeling embarrassed, you know. You don't come into the world conscious of these things that hold us back later on as we grow up. Where does it come from? Where does that space that comes in that makes you feel ashamed of yourself, right? And it's so interesting because I've always been the person who believes that shame is something that's taught, right? And how do we adopt it into our lives in such a way that it keeps us from doing great things? I think that that is just a terrifying idea, that someone can insert something into us that is not natural, and it can have so much control over our lives, over our destiny, over our purpose, that it holds us back from going where we should go. But I want us to let it go. I want you to, one, sometimes the number one way to set yourself free from something is to recognize it for what it is. And if you stop thinking of it as an extension of you and you start thinking of it as an implant, right? You start thinking of it as a thorn. You start thinking of it as something that does not belong in you. It's like a hybrid of your species. You are filled with love, you're filled with light, you're filled with joy, you're filled with purpose. You are fearless. You know, some baby, they're so fearless, right? And they're fearless because there's a lot that they don't know. Think of yourself as a child. We hear that as a biblical concept, to have the faith of a child. There's so much that you don't know. Sometimes we're so focused on what we think we know about life and people. And oh my God, how many times have we been proven wrong that people are not who we thought they were? We are not who we thought we are. We've been wrong so many times. So go into your childlike nature of being inquisitive, of being curious, of being willing to learn more and explore. Because if you lock yourself into what you think you know, you won't make room to grow and have new adventures and new journeys in your life. What happens with shame, right? Is sometimes it's the thing that happens when we fill our lives with so much drama, instead of adventure. And I want you to embrace your adventure, right? It's so important that you learn what that means, right? Drama is what happens when you engage in behaviors that are not connected to the root of love and growth and understanding. That's what drama is. Adventure is what happens when you embrace love, you take it by the horns, you go out there and you give life your all. So I want you to go on your adventure at life, and do not be ashamed when life doesn't turn out to be what you thought it was. That's nothing to be ashamed of. That is something to embrace because you learned something new. And I want you to be excited about what you can learn, just the same way a child is excited to learn. new things, excited to discover, excited to explore. Don't be afraid of what you're going to learn about yourself. You might be going through a hard time right now. Be willing to learn new aspects of your soul. Be willing to learn new parts of your body, creativity. Be willing to learn that you have new boundaries. Be willing to learn how to set those boundaries, right? These things are important. You're still learning, you're still growing every single day, and you should never, ever be ashamed of the fact that you were evolving into a better version of yourself. Why would you ever be ashamed of that, right? So here's what I'll say. Um, Shame is probably one of the most pointless wastes of energy that you're ever going to experience. Why? Because no matter what you do, people are going to find a way to shame you for it. There's literally nothing you could touch. Let me give you an example. I think, ladies, you can join me on this one. If you are an independent woman and you can get a lot of wonderful things done without spreading your legs, they're going to shame you for it. And then if you become a woman and you spread your legs to get things done, they're going to shame you for that. No matter what you choose, they're going to shame you for it. If you are a man, fellas, you can join me on this. If you're a man and you're poor, they're going to shame you for it. And then if you have a bunch of money, people are going to shame you for that because they think you should be sharing it with everyone so you could be poor all over again. There's nothing you can choose. There's not one single path that you are going to select in life that people will not find some way to shame you for it. Now, let's talk about this a little bit closer, right? It's not always the fact that people are shaming you. Sometimes it's who's doing it, right? Because sometimes there are some opinions that we care about more than others. This is where you need to understand your boundaries. So important that you understand who is important and who isn't. Who is important on this journey with you and who is not. Which opinions matters, which ones don't. Who can you take with you as you are evolving, as you are growing, as you're expanding into a new person. You're going on a new adventure. You're learning new things about yourself. Who is supportive of that growth? Guess what? Those are the only perspectives. I won't even say opinions. I would say those are the only perspectives that truly matter. And I want you to embrace that. The people who are going to support your growth, the people who are going to straighten your crown, the people who are going to give you honest feedback. Not people who are going to tell you what you want to hear all the time, but those who will give you honest feedback. Why? Because they want the best for you. The people who fuel you, the people who are assets to your journey and not liabilities, right? There's really only two real reasons why we could be in each other's life. Either I'm here to help you grow or you're here to help me grow, right? And hopefully it's reciprocal. It may not be at times. It might be one-sided, one versus the other. But if we're at a place where I'm not helping you expand, you're not helping me, we may not belong in each other's life, which guess what happens to your opinion at that point? So those are the things that we've got to focus on. You may even have to write those names down. So those are one of those things that's important. You sit down, make a list of whose opinion should matter based on outcomes, because I always believe that outcomes are really what matter at the end of the day, not how you feel about people. And sometimes that can hurt our feelings a little bit, but I'm still an advocate for taking no agenda for yourself when it comes to people. Have no agenda for them, so that way you can also allow them to be free to go on their own journey as well. And if you allow them that, then honestly, really where they fall in their purpose in your life, the meaning, the understanding in your life, it puts it all into perspective. So I want you to be a person who liberates yourself from shame. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You are a human being having a human experience that is learning and growing and expanding. And as long as you are always willing to put love and light and positivity out there in the world, as long as you're willing to grow and create and innovate, and you're always willing to make sure that tomorrow is better than today and you're going to do your part, you've got nothing to be ashamed of. You know, what you've learned on the journey, the courage and the boldness that it took for you to step out there, whether you started your own business, whether you started a family, whether you started a community project, however you are leading in this world, lead it free of shame. because you have survived things that most people wouldn't. You've gone through things that most people would have given up on. You have strived in areas that most people would have been left behind. If you're watching my broadcast, my content is for leaders. That's who I'm here for. And I want to encourage you to keep on going. In terms of rejection, I always say that there's no such thing as rejection. This is my personal belief. There's no such thing as rejection. It is direction. Okay. I am always so grateful for the people who can admit very quickly that they do not belong on my journey. I promise you this, and I hope that you would take this to heart, and I hope that you really consider what I have to say, that you have been hurt by more people who said yes to you that shouldn't have than the people who said no that should have. Never be afraid of rejection. The people who said yes to you either before your time or before their time, the people who came and like, oh yeah, I want to be there and I want to help, and then they hurt because they were there and they didn't know they shouldn't be there. They inserted their opinions when they could have just walked away. They spent some of your money. You trusted them with something before their character or their integrity was developed, or before your character or your integrity was completely developed. The people who said yes to you, they are the problem, not the people who said no. I thank God for the people who said no. Because you don't belong here, and that's okay, right? And I see, like, if you're driving down the street and you put your GPS on, I give this as an example. You put your GPS on, and your GPS is going to tell you a direction. It's going to give you the best path to getting where you need to go. If your GPS took you on every single street, every single one, and no matter which way you turn, it's like, yes, yes, say yes to this street, say yes to that street. It's not going to get you there in an efficient way. You need it to isolate and eliminate as many options as possible so that you know the best possible track for you to get where you're going faster and safer. So that is how you need to see rejection. It is not you being rejected. It is not someone saying no to you. It is about you finding the direction for where you need to go. And so if you need to have that conversation with yourself about dying to people pleasing, dying to needing to be liked, dying to needing to be accepted, I want you to have that conversation with yourself. Okay, let that go, let that die. And if you are sitting around and maybe you're dealing with some bitterness right now, maybe you're dealing with some hurt right now, maybe you're struggling with some betrayal right now, maybe you're struggling, with just feeling the pain of those who didn't come with you, maybe you're feeling abandoned. I want you to turn that into a prayer of gratitude. This is your chance to die the death that you need to die so that you can become, so that you can arise, so you can come out of the ashes and be the phoenix out of the fire that's coming out lighter and better than ever. There's a lot of times where less is more. There's a lot of times where you need to shed those people, those personalities, those weights, those opinions, those perspectives, all those distractions, everything. And thank God that they walked away from you, because sometimes your heart is too loyal to walk away from them. But guess what? When you have a purpose, you have a calling, you have a destiny, you have a mission, they can't hold on to you, because God has got to get out of you what He's putting you. And if those things are in the way, they have to go. They can't hold on to you. They can't. So forgive them for that. They're just not a part of your journey anymore. Take what you need to take from whatever it is, that fire that was lit underneath you so that you could become. And I want you to go out there and I want you to do it because you were called, because you were purposed, because you were prepared, because you no longer have the distractions of those who step off of your plate, so that you can get focused, get your head in the game. Do not spend another minute worried about who couldn't come with you. Oh, that's one less person you got to share your profit with. So, I'm just saying that to encourage you guys. I really hope that this is encouraging for you today. I really want you to set your heart free from those negative experiences, from those moments, from the fear of shame, from the fear of guilt, from the fear of just who couldn't come with you, from the fear of rejection. Sometimes our fear of rejection is keeping us from putting our prices where we should. I'm going to be honest with you on that. Sometimes, you have devalued, you've undervalued yourself, and you've made yourself small so you can fit in a place you don't fit anymore. You've outgrown, expanded, okay? You are more than what you are allowing yourself to be just so you can keep a few people happy. Why would you do that? Why would you do that when it's time for you to grow, when it's time for you to have more, it's time for you to do more, and you can help them later. Sometimes they come down the road later, but right now, where you are, you need and they have to go. So if you can see rejection that way, that this is your expansion time, you've outgrown this. That's all it is. And maybe they had the opportunity to grow with you, but maybe that was not their purpose. Let them go so that you can grow and you can become what you need to become, so you can serve at a higher level, so you can get a greater reward for your service. It's time. It's your time. This is your time to make it happen, right? And I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's a mom or a dad. I don't care who it is. If they didn't grow with you, as God called you to grow, then they can't go with you. Say that. That's what you got to tell yourself. If they didn't grow with me, they can't go with me. Not right now. Timing is everything. So make room in your heart later as you need to. Get the healing in the space that you need so that you can become what you need to become and serve the way you need to serve, because we need you out here. We need you healthy. We need you happy. We need you thriving. We need you wealthy, okay? And we've got to get rid of everyone else that is holding you back from having all that you can have and be in the best possible condition that you need to be in. So my prayer for you today is that this conversation that we're having, this internal dialogue that I'm trying to help coach you through, is giving you the space that you need to become what you need to become, and no longer be afraid of being ashamed. People are shaming you, people judging you. Who cares if they're judging you? Who cares? Why do you care so much about their opinion? That's the real question you have to ask yourself. Why does their opinion matter so much that it's going to stop you from embracing your calling? It's going to stop you from getting your highest possible paycheck? Is it going to stop you from walking into your dream home? Is it going to stop you from changing the world? Why? For what? Right? So really, it's more so that you have a more glorified opinion of them than they have of you. Don't do that either. So at the end of the day, this is between you and God. The only person laying on your deathbed is between you and God, and you're the one who has to look back at your life and decide what it was worth. You're the only one who has to decide whether or not your life is going to be filled with you remembering all the Netflix binges that you had, or you're going to remember all the lives that you changed. Whatever you want those memories to look like, however you want someone to commemorate you on your last day, whoever you want surrounding your deathbed, whoever you want taking care of you, whatever the case may be, that's up to you, and you are the author of that. You don't self-author your own demise by allowing people to hold you back, people who will not be with you when it really counts anyway, okay? Be childlike. Remember, go back to that childlike faith. Set them free. Let them be on their own journey. You're on your own journey. It's always you and God. That's what it always is at the end of the day anyway. Okay, so God bless you all today on this Juneteenth. I hope that you had an awesome day. I hope that this was helpful. Please feel free to send an inbox, message me if there's any other topics you'd like to discuss. That's where I get a lot of my ideas. But God bless you, and I hope that this was helpful. Thanks again for watching.